Welcome back to Holistic Soul Sisters TV. I'm Mandy Rose, your holistic health coach, spiritual mentor, and astrologer. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the full moon total lunar eclipse that's happening on May 26th in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. You're not going to want to miss this video because there are big changes happening for all of us, and we're going to dive into all of it in this video. So this full moon is considered a full blood moon, super moon, in the sign of Sagittarius as a total lunar eclipse. Oh my God, what does that even mean? Don't worry, we're gonna break it all down. So let's begin. This full moon is happening on May 26th at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, what's really interesting is 5 in numerology is considered change, right? And as you can see from this chart, the moon is right here in Sagittarius at 5 degrees. It's directly opposite the sun, which is at 5 degrees of Gemini, because right now we're in Gemini season. And with the number 5 representing change, we are also in a change year. 2021 also equals 5. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5. So in 2021, we can see in the astrology that everything is resulting in change. This is the year that we have a lot of shifts happening, and we're going to be starting off this eclipse season with this full moon in Sagittarius. This full moon is going to be happening exactly at 7:14 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you're going to want to adjust for your time zone. And during that moment, we will have the Earth being right in the middle of the sun and the moon, as you can see on this chart. Now we have right here next to the moon, the South Node, which is at 10 degrees of Sagittarius. And directly across from the South Node, down here is the North Node, which is at 10 degrees of Gemini. We have the moon hanging out with the South Node, and we have the sun hanging out with the North Node. We're gonna dive more into what the nodes actually mean in just a moment. This is a full moon that you're definitely gonna wanna look at your own birth chart to see how it's gonna affect you, because there's a lot of change energy happening here. And if you have a lot of zodiac signs that are what we call mutable signs, this eclipse is gonna rock your world. Mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. If you have the sun, the moon, or any other planets in any one of these signs, it's going to affect you even more so. You're also going to want to look at which house Sagittarius falls and which house Gemini falls in your birth chart, because these are the areas of your lives that you can expect a lot of letting go and releasing from the past and new beginnings to start forming during this eclipse cycle. So let's break down all the terminology. Let's first start with a full moon. I know I've talked about this in other videos, but essentially full moons are all about coming to a culmination, coming to an end. It's the ending of a cycle, right? We have the new moons and they go all the way until the full moon. So full moons are endings, letting go, releasing, and shedding the past. But because it's a lunar eclipse, we're actually going to be having even more energy around these themes. The moon is all about our emotions. It's our intuition. It's things that we've been knowing on a soul level that have been needing to let go of for a really long time, but haven't quite been released from our lives yet. The new moon that happened in December of 2020 was the new moon in Sagittarius. So what during that new moon in Sagittarius are you needing to let go of now at the full moon in Sagittarius? This is a period for all of us to start transitioning and to move on from the past. You can see here that the moon is hanging out with the South Node. South Node represents our past, our baggage, our karma, the things that we're here in this lifetime to let go of. And the sun is down here with the North Node, which represents new beginnings, our future destiny, our purpose, where we're going in this lifetime. It's our North Star. And so there's a lot of emotional energy happening at this full moon, a lot of releasing, letting go, rearranging of our lives, and thinking a lot differently than we've ever thought of before. Next, this is called a supermoon. What does a supermoon even mean? Supermoons occur when the moon in its orbit around the Earth is at its closest point that it can possibly be to planet Earth. And when we go outside during a supermoon, we look up at the sky and the moon looks brighter than ever, bigger than ever, and it looks closer to us than ever. And that's because it actually is. Now we know that the moons, full moons especially, affect our tides, they affect our emotions, they affect our bodies. Since we all have parasites and pathogens within us, we can feel this parasitic activity heighten. That's why we can feel more anxiety, we can feel more stomach issues, we can feel more headaches. People who work in the healthcare field or ERs definitely know when it's a full moon because our bodies just are more off. They're affected by that full moon, especially when it's a supermoon. This moon is also called a blood moon. Blood moons are nicknamed that because they happen at eclipses. Now, eclipses happen because the sun is on one side of the earth, the moon being on the other side, and the earth is right in the middle. And they are meeting up with these imaginary points in space that we call the nodes of the moon. They're not real celestial bodies. The north and the south node are not stars, they're not asteroids, they're not planets. They're fixed imaginary points in space that we know from Earth that when the moon and the sun line up exactly perfectly, it's going to look like the moon just disappears in the sky. And so when this happens, the sunlight, which has the full spectrum of light, blues all the way to the reds, the blue light gets hidden, and as it shines around the moon, the red light gets scattered, making the moon look more red. That's why we call it a blood moon. Now, with eclipses, we can have total and partial eclipses. And the way that we distinguish that in astrology is when we look at a map of the sky, we look to see how close is the full moon to the actual eclipse points in the sky. If they are close, it's going to be considered a total eclipse. If they're a little further apart, it's what we call a partial eclipse. Now, we can have eclipses on new moons, and we can have eclipses on full moons. When an eclipse occurs during a new moon, we call that a solar eclipse because the sun and the moon are conjunct, and so we call that a solar eclipse. And when an eclipse happens at a full moon, when the sun and the moon are opposite in the sky, we call that a lunar eclipse. Now, this full moon happening on May 26th is a total lunar eclipse, where the south and the north node are very close to the actual full moon in the sky. Now, back in the day, before there was the internet and the news and the massive spread of information, people thought that it was going to be the end of the world when an eclipse happened. Literally, imagine looking up into the night sky and all of a sudden the moon just completely disappears. That made people really fearful, and they thought the ending of the world was near. We know that that's no longer the case. However, within us energetically, we can start to feel a lot of fear and anxiety and worry start to bubble up within us. So if at this eclipse, you're starting to feel those scattered energies within your body, know that it's very common and a lot of people experience them during eclipses. During eclipses, we can anticipate sudden change. This is why a lot of people are fearful of eclipses, but really know that it's just to help us wipe the slate clean so we can get back on track with our soul's purpose. Oftentimes, as humans, we have the tendency to not want to change. And we know that something is outworn a welcome in our life, but we're just not ready to let go of yet, right? I know we've all experienced this. We know that a relationship is over long before we're ready to let go. We know we're ready to leave a job and start a new career long before we actually put in our 2-week notice. We know that we're ready to move and experience new adventure before we actually break our lease or find a new home. And eclipses come into our lives to suddenly jolt us out of the past, to jolt us to let go of things that we just need to let go of so we can get back on track to our north node, to our north star, to our purpose and our destiny. So that's what happens during eclipses. So you can expect something in your life to just let go immediately. And I like to think of it like this. Eclipses come in cycles, 6-month cycles. So like I said, this is a full moon in Sagittarius. 6 months ago, we had a new moon in Sagittarius that was also an eclipse. And at that point, I want you to think back to December, about December 10th. What in your life did you know standing at that moment needed to be let go of? And I think of it like this. Imagine you're holding something in your hand. You can hold on to it for a while and you think, oh, this is easy. It's no big deal. It's not going to affect me. But at some point, as you're holding onto that, your hands are going to start to get tired. Your arms are going to start shaking. That new moon in December was the point when your arms were starting to shake. The energy was bubbling up inside of you and you were ready to let go. You could feel it. Your hands were shaking. It's time to let go, but you don't want to let go. You're not ready yet. So you hold on tighter and you feel it slipping and you feel it slipping. So you hold on a little tighter. And then eventually you get to a point that no matter how hard you hold on, you let go, no matter what. And this full moon in Sagittarius, total lunar eclipse, is the moment that the bags drop out of your hand and they scatter all along the floor and you look, oh my God, I did it, I let go, but now what? Now what? So a total lunar eclipse deals with the south node, our past, our baggage, our karma, the things that we've come into this lifetime with that we need to learn to let go of and get rid of. But the next new moon, which is happening in 2 weeks, is going to be a solar eclipse, which deals with the North Node, our future, our destiny, our purpose, where we're meant to go. And we have this 2-week in-between period of letting go and everything being scattered on the floor and picking them up and putting them in a new place. It's that in-between, right? Have you ever moved and you put everything in boxes long before your move-out date, and then there's this point where you're like, oh crap, I need my blender. And you don't know what box it's in, and you know it's somewhere, and you can't find it, and you just feel this weird in-between phase of your life. And then you actually get to moving day, and you're in the new, and you know that the new has begun, but your closet isn't organized, and the dishes aren't put in the cupboards, so you're still living out of boxes, and you just haven't quite fully sunk into the new energy. That's what we're going to be feeling from May 26th with this lunar eclipse with the South Node, and June 10th with the solar eclipse dealing with the North Node. So expect that energy to happen. Something is going to let go. Something is going to shed. A culmination and ending is going to happen. So this is why I was saying it's really important to look at your birth chart and find out what areas of your life these eclipses are going to be playing out for you. So how are we going to do that? You're going to pull up your birth chart and you're going to look and see where is Gemini, where the sun is in the North Node, and Sagittarius, where the moon is, and the South Node in your birth chart. So you just pretty much, Google astro.com, Astro Cafe. You can just Google birth chart, put in your birth time, place, and location, and it's gonna pop up with a chart that looks like this, but it's your own birth chart. And there's gonna be a little chart that mentions where every house is. So once you know what house that falls in for you, you're gonna see what themes in your life you're gonna be letting go, and what themes of your life you're going to be beginning anew during this eclipse cycle. A change of what? What's going to be changing, right? So we have to look at Sagittarius. What does Sagittarius represent? What are we letting go of? Sagittarius represents wisdom, education, knowledge, our belief systems, our religion, our philosophy. This is a point in our lives where we're going to be letting go of things that we believe in, that we have believed in, but that no longer serve us, that can no longer come with us on our soul's journey. This is where we're going to start realizing that maybe our philosophy or our religion or our belief systems aren't really aligned with who we're becoming. And we got to let them go. And this can be really hard because we tend to identify with who we are based on our religion, based on our belief system. I am this, I am that. And then when we have an eclipse, an ending in Sagittarius in our beliefs, now we go, but if I don't believe that anymore, who am I? Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me not accepted by other people? This is a really big period of transition for a lot of people. So for instance, if Sagittarius is in your 7th house of relationships, right? That's the area of your life where your belief systems around relationships are no longer valid. They no longer apply to who you are. Maybe you believe that monogamy isn't for you. Maybe you believe that being married isn't the way to find your happiness. Maybe your belief in your religion and being married to someone who has the same religion to you doesn't matter anymore. Do you guys see how this can play out? Or let's take another example. If Sagittarius falls in your 10th house, which represents our careers, maybe your belief system about what your career needs to be isn't the same. Maybe there's a lot of Sagittarius wisdom, Sagittarius education, Sagittarius knowledge that you've gained in your career, but you no longer believe that that matters, and you want to change careers, and all this knowledge and higher education and college and classes and courses you've done don't align with what you want to start doing in a new career space. And that's okay. This is the time to let that go and say, I'm closing that chapter. I had a bachelor's degree in marketing, and now I want to become a spiritual leader or a spiritual teacher, and that has nothing to do with my marketing degree, right? This is a period where a lot of people go, oh, that's not for me anymore. What I believe is no longer true. It's always really painful for us to come to this realization. So give yourself a lot of grace and patience if this is happening to you at this eclipse. Everyone has experienced some sort of releasing and letting go and shedding in their life during this eclipse season. So just be really gracious with yourself through the process. Now, because the moon and the South Node are in Sagittarius, that's the letting go part. What's the new part? The North Node is in Gemini. So what new things are coming to us? Gemini rules ideas, our logic, our mind. So we're going to be learning new things. We're going to be learning new ideas. We're going to have new belief systems, new processes. And that's what's really exciting. Sagittarius is letting go of our old beliefs, our visions, what we wanted, what we thought what we wanted, our old dreams that no longer align. and finding new ideas and new ways to be and new social groups. Gemini rules social groups, finding our people. If maybe you feel like you don't have a tribe and you don't have people that get you, Gemini rules social groups. It's time to get with a new network. And that only happens when you get clear with yourself. What do you believe? Right? So let's say you have your religious church group that you've been hanging out with for the last 10 years. And slowly over time, you just feel like maybe they don't align with me. Maybe I need to find a group of people that are a little bit more open-minded. Yes, they still believe in religion and they believe in being a good person and they believe in a lot of the same values, but they're just a little bit more open-minded into chakras, open-minded into crystals. And so you find your new tribe, Gemini, socializing. You find a new way, a new belief, a new idea. And this is really what's happening during this Gemini Sagittarius North and South Node eclipse cycle. During eclipse cycles, it's like time speeds up and things just start happening. Letting go, death, endings, releasing, and then all of a sudden new opportunities, new beginnings, new chapters, new people, new everything. So this is going to be really exciting. So now that we have the themes of what all the terminology means, what Sagittarius and Gemini represent, I want to talk a little bit more about what's happening exactly at 7:14 a.m. with the other planets, because this is the other really interesting thing happening. We don't just have the North and the South Node and the Sun and the Moon involved. We actually have Jupiter heavily involved. And you can see from this chart, we have what we call in astrology a T-square. Now, if you've been watching my videos, I've talked about T-squares happening at other new moons and full moons. And when a T-square happens, it essentially means that we have this opposition. You can see the sun here and the moon here. It's a straight across line. That's what we call an opposition. But we have Jupiter over here at a 90-degree angle with the sun, a 90-degree angle with the sun, which then makes it have also a 90-degree angle with the moon. So Jupiter is at a 90-degree with the sun and 90-degree with the moon, and that's what we call a T-square, where the energy is shooting at Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is at 1 degree of Pisces. Pisces is our emotional sign. It's our spiritual sign. It's the karmic sign. It's the last sign of the zodiac. And Jupiter is at home here in Pisces. He just entered Pisces on May 13th. He's like finally home. It's taken him 12 years to get all the way back home to Pisces, and he's just starting to feel good. He's not going to be there for long. He's actually going to retrograde and go back to Aquarius until 2022. But for now, at this time of change, during this eclipse, this time of letting go, he's saying, I'm here, I'm home, I'm ready to give you abundance. I'm ready to expand. Jupiter is all about expansion. He's all about optimism and positivity and about giving you hope. And that's amazing. Luckily, we have Jupiter here giving us the energy as we go through the shifts. But at this time, as we have this T-square, this can be a little fuzzy. This can be a little tense. Jupiter is about overdoing it. So you want to be really careful at this time that you don't overdo anything in your life. You don't want to jump the gun and start overspending because now you have a new opportunity. You don't want to jump the gun and start overeating or overindulging or overdoing anything. Jupiter is all about expanding energy, and he can get a little sassy pants sometimes. So with this T-square, it's a reminder to us, don't overindulge. Take it easy, take a step back, let the energy sink in, let the chips fall where they may, and let this eclipse season play out before you start making super drastic moves in your life. Jupiter in Pisces is saying to us that we don't always have to think from the mind, right? Sometimes we have to go into the soul, Pisces being the higher self, Pisces being the spiritual side. Sometimes we have to listen to our soul's calling and not just our logical mind. So ask yourself during this eclipse season, what is true for me? I don't need to listen to what everyone else is saying. I don't need to listen to what my parents have taught me. I don't need to listen to what my friends or my social circle is saying. I need to know what is true for me. Now, also fun fact is that Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. And so therefore, not only is he in a T-square, in a direct conversation with this full moon, he's actually the ruler of Sagittarius, making him the ruler of this full moon in Sagittarius. So his energy is really heavily influenced during the full moon. Now, the other planet that's making a big impact to this full moon is Mercury. Mercury is right down here in Gemini. So you can see we have the sun, the North Node, Mercury and Venus, all in the sign of Gemini at the time of this full moon. And Mercury is about to go retrograde. The full moon's happening on the 26th, and Mercury's gonna go retrograde on the 30th. So he's at a spot in the sky right now where he's at a standstill, he's at a pause, and he's ready to backtrack. Now, while I said Jupiter is in his home sign of Pisces, he loves to be in Pisces, he's home here, he's having a good time. Mercury is also at home here in Gemini, and Mercury is heavily impacting this full moon as well because he is sitting here right with the North Node and right with the Sun. You can see all these planets down here in Gemini. You have the Sun, you've got the North Node, you've got Venus, and you've got Mercury. And Mercury is about to go retrograde. The full moon's happening on May 26th. Mercury is going to go retrograde on May 30th. And as he retrogrades, he's right here. He's going to retrograde backwards over Venus, backwards over the North Node, our purpose, our destiny, our karma, backwards over the Sun. And Mercury is all about communication, our mind, our logical thinking, our communication, how we express ourselves. So don't you find it fascinating that this full moon eclipse is going to be launching the release of our old belief systems, our old values, our old morals, our old way of being? And then Mercury is going to retrograde and say, let's back up. And let's think about our communication. Let's think about what we've been thinking about. Let's think about how we communicate. Let's think about where we belong in this lifetime. So this is going to be really interesting. So make sure you catch that Mercury retrograde video because I talk about specific days that Mercury is going to be doing this dance. But as you see the chart right here and I talk about it in the Mercury retrograde video, it'll make a lot more sense for you guys. So as you go through this eclipse cycle, look in your chart, see what areas it's going to impact. I know eclipses can be a little scary and they can feel rough energetically. Just embrace it. Make sure you grab your 2021 retrograde journal. I talk more about what full moons and Sagittarius represent. I have the moon ritual. I also list in the journal some crystals that you can use at this time, and then go ahead and fill out your journal prompts. If you're a part of our Holistic Soul Sister Facebook group, make sure you share with me what you are releasing, what are you letting go of at this time, what changes are coming to your life. Let me know what's happening in your birth chart with these eclipses. Make sure you check out the Mercury retrograde video. I'll be linking it up here for you guys because this Mercury retrograde is happening right in the middle of eclipse season. Also check out the Pluto retrograde and the Saturn retrograde videos because that is happening all the way until October through the entire summer. And you're going to want to know what these life coaches are trying to teach you in your life so that when the chaos happens, when the new comes in, when the old gets released, you can make sense of the chaos. And that's really why I titled this retrograde journal using the sun, moon, and planets to understand what the fuck is happening in your life this year. So grab a copy of this. They're on sale until June 1st for $25. You can message me at my email link in the description box below or find me on Instagram at mandyrose.1111. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I can't wait to bring you guys more videos, and I hope this eclipse season is treating you really, really well.